Hi, welcome to the Job Applicant Perspective. I am Sarah Trumbull, your host, and I write about labor market economics for the layperson. I am a startup founder by trade as well and operate the Job Applicant Perspective website, the first anonymous user reviews for job ads across the US, like Yelp, in a world of professionally mandated fine dining with no health department and no FDA. So, my work lives where system theory meets the chaos of the job search, naming the failures that economists, journalists, and job seekers all feel but rarely put into words. Think of this Substack like pulling up a stool in a late night bar where the jukebox only plays songs about the job market. Some verses sound like heartbreak, some like comedy, some like dirge. But if you listen closely, you hear the pattern, a system out of tune, running on repetition instead of repair. This episode is called Why Job Boards Are Broken. Now, picture leaving that bar and wandering into a neon lit arcade at midnight. Rows of claw machines line the walls, each promising a prize if you just try again. Some claws don't grip at all. Some never drop in the right place, and a few aren't even plugged in. But they all take your quarters. Imagine quarters are time spent. That's the modern job search. Job boards aren't flawed. They're designed around a missing piece big enough to warp the entire market. And that's where the story begins. Who this is for: labor market economists and market designers, a clear diagnosis of how digital hiring platforms became extractive by design and what they failed to carry over from traditional marketplaces. Journalists and tech critics language to explain the ghost job crisis as more than a trend as a result of a measurable platform flaw. Job seekers and career advocates, a framework that names the chaos you're living in and shows how rebuilding the feedback systems can restore sanity. The silence that wasn't always there. The professional silence of job seekers has always been taken for granted. But historically, that silence only ever protected employers, not the market itself. Newspapers, the old school job platforms, saw job seekers as stakeholders. If a posting was misleading, job seekers could complain and the paper had to fix it or lose money. That changed when hiring moved online. Employers built digital job boards as they saw the market, but not as the market actually worked. Job seekers were suddenly excluded from the feedback. The result: misinformation that once cost the platforms money, newspapers, now made platforms money, online hiring. What's missing? Feedback. Every online marketplace had to build the trust systems: Uber, driver ratings; eBay, host reviews; apartments.com, renter feedback. But job boards? Nothing. No way to rate postings, flag scams, or see which companies ghost. This wasn't an oversight, it was design. Platforms scaled hiring while dropping the single most important mechanism that makes markets efficient: mutual accountability. Um, oop, that markets efficient accountability. Why it matters. Job boards function less like hiring systems and more like platforms. Employers are customers. Job seekers are the product. The market optimizes the appearance of solving hiring, not the reality. That fuels dysfunction. Fake jobs, ghost posts to collect resumes, scam recruiters, and identity theft. Hundreds of wasted applications per role because no one has the context. Longer unemployment duration, even for skilled workers. You're not failing the system is failing you. The market flip. Job seekers went from being participants to being unpaid human revenue generators. That's not a talent shortage. That's rent seeking in disguise, a profit is pain model. The longer you're unemployed, the more money the platforms earn: ad revenue, resume services, re engagement. In the world's most expensive high tech magic claw machine, platforms profit while participants lose. The missed opportunity. Imagine if job boards were like other platforms: rate job ads, warn others about scams, track company response rates, crowdsource transparency, excuse me, on pay process and ghosting. That would shrink inefficiency for both sides. Employers would stop drowning in mismatches. Job seekers would waste less time. Trust would replace chaos. But why hasn't that happened? Because conditional belonging is a powerful drug. Humans accept dysfunction if it grants access to an in group. In labor markets, that means tolerating systems that optimize for employer comfort, not market health. But transactionally, the picture is simple platforms profit when job seekers fail. AI ghost jobs in the future. AI accelerates dysfunction, but it doesn't change the root. The missing trust layer is the problem, and rebuilding it is the solution. And that's what we're building at the job applicant perspective, which is anonymous user reviews like Yelp for hiring. Because you're not a failed employee, you're an unprotected consumer in a broken marketplace. To read more, my deeper dive, Reinventing the Digital Labor Market, How Job Boards Without Trust Mechanisms Fuel Inefficiency, is on SSRN. Already being read by economists from Harvard, Berkeley, Georgetown, and more. And more of my Substack, you can follow along. I will be putting many of these posts that I had posted written, kind of reinventing them in the podcast format for listeners in labor markets who prefer listening versus reading, just in general. So, yeah. Stay sane out there, guys. The gaslighting is strong. Always remember the internet made the job market like snowstorm. You need to talk to people on the roads. Don't call the corporate office. Thanks.